Welcome back to Hall of Fame College Football with Jason and the coach. I'm your host, Jason Watkins. He's the coach, Philip Roybal. We have special guest with us from Go Power Cat, Tim Fitzgerald. And if you love college football, you're definitely in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of Hall of Fame college football.
One of my all-time favorites, Mr. Tim.
Heck yeah, man. It's always good to get these guys in here, and especially Tim Fitzgerald, our boy at Go Power Cat. Good to see you, sir. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I have been incredibly exhausted over the last, I don't know how many months through football, but I'm finally catching up. This battling cancer is a full-time job, but I'm getting through it.
Wow.
Well, we always keep you in our prayers, and you amaze me with all the way that you do handle it, because you are still one of the hardest workers I see out there. As much energy as you say you don't have, you're always on everywhere. So
I'm like a woman. I can fake it.
Hey, well, I wasn't gonna go there, but look, lots of stuff going on today. We're going to get into. Look, I hate this stuff. I really do. But bombshell stuff came out today about Jaden Rashada, the University of Florida's football coach, a booster, and another employee of Florida, that basically alleges that, well, that Napier, Billy Napier, a top Gators booster and a former football staffer, basically screwed the quarterback out of a $9.5 million deal he had at Miami, offering him a $13.85 million deal to flip and go to Florida. And with allegedly, and I'm going to say allegedly a lot here, but allegedly with no intent whatsoever to ever pay anything, and just basically screw his deal over. This makes very little sense to me, guys. I don't know, man. It just blows my mind. But I think that even going back to when we saw this, later on, Rashada was let out of his national letter of intent. He ends up at Arizona State this past year. I think going back to last year, it smelled bad, didn't it? I mean,
yeah. I mean, there's so many layers to this that, it's hard to unravel. There's so many different things going on here that have all been created by NIL. So I don't know where to start, but I think my favorite part of the story, though, is Kirby Smart, coach of Georgia, where he's now at, when telling Coach Smart he was going to do this, file this lawsuit. Kirby was like, "Hell yeah, you are. Let's go." Sue them Gators.
Well, and listen, as the college football fan in me loves this for that part of alone. Just that part that one of their biggest rivals anyway. That's good fodder for us on that end of it. But I guess, and Coach, you chime in as soon as you're ready. But I feel like. And by the way, let me say hello to the audience here. Welcome into the show, everybody. Thank you all for coming in and joining us real quick. But listen, I do feel like this is a situation that it really just illuminates exactly what the hell is wrong with college football right now. And it's the fact that not only are there no guardrails to where you have protection against losing players to one team or the next, and all this free-for-all moving around stuff, but these kind of things, that these players, to me, are not protected in any way whatsoever. And this follows years and years of what I feel like is exploitation by boosters, coaches, the NCAA, that basically enriches all of them, but has left these players out in the cold. And then now, of course, you get a lot of people that are going to badmouth this player for wanting what he was apparently promised.
So
I don't know.
Yeah, again, we know he was offered that amount by Miami because the Life Wallet guy has said, yeah, we did that. So
Well,
why
he
would
said
he
that
quit?
he didn't offer 9.5. He didn't say. He said that was not that amount of money, but there
Yeah.
was money involved in it. Sure,
Right. So why would he leave that kind of anything close to that on the table to go somewhere else? Obviously, the money was more, or so the lawsuit claims.
sure.
But I love your point that this is an extension of how the system's taking advantage of student athletes, because now we see these young people and their families going in to talk about NIL offers, which are contracts or should be contracts without proper representation, because most of the agents in this space are just their cousin Larry or a family friend or some guy who claims to be an agent, because there's no accreditation for college agents out there, which is another point of this. I brought up on one of our podcasts that if your agent isn't an attorney, a contract attorney, or doesn't have access to one at all times, that's not your person. And this is a perfect example of this. An attorney would have made sure this was in writing, this was solid, and this was a signed contract. But apparently there isn't. It was verbal promises that he now claims they backed out of.
Right. Coach, what are your feelings on all of this, and what do you?
No, guys, again, y'all have said a lot of things here that I agree with 100%. I think kids have been exploited for long time. They've got to get their arms wrapped around the NIL deals, just like Tim's talking about. There's every time you look at an NIL deal that goes bad, you're seeing things that there's going to be some learning processes through this, and just like Tim said, you need an attorney, you need somebody that understands how this works, because as a parent, they're not going to know how it works. No. And so there's lots of layers that are being peeled back because of the NIL and just all the processes that are going on right now. And we don't have any processes. Let's be honest. And guys, everybody's going to be hurt from this. The kids, the institutions, right. College football as a whole. There's a lot of bad that can come out of this whole thing. But again, we're all learning our way through this. But the bottom line is parameters have got to be put in place, and they got to be put in place pretty darn quick. So we don't have more of this kind of stuff.
Agreed.
Now, another layer. There was a contract, and it was apparently taken away. But according to the lawsuit, it was alleged that even after that, and there's text messages within the paperwork of the lawsuit. I don't know if you've read it or read any of it or not. That was from the UF official. We're talking about, what's his name, Castro Walker, that continued to say that, according to Coach Napier, they would honor the deal if he signed his national letter of intent. The bottom line to me is that, and look, whether or not the details of this are obviously murky, I think that there's always two sides of every story. The lawsuits are born of he said, and basically what was the intent of one party or the other. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that you can argue that there wasn't something going on. There wasn't money offered, because, as you said a minute ago, there was an offer from Miami. They had to go over the top of that in order to be able to get him to wiggle out of that, right?
Right.
And according to the lawsuit, the booster, which Hugh Hathcock, he is the big money booster whose name is on the stadium, whose name is on the basketball arena as well, wired him $150,000 that he had to pay to John Ruiz of I think it's LifeLock, one of those
Life Wallet
deals. Life Wallet, yeah, Life Wallet. And he runs the collective for Miami. He had to pay that in order to stay out of litigation with him. there's got to be some record of some of this somewhere, and we know for sure that there are records of these text messages. What do you think if obviously there's the NIL rules that the NCAA had are set aside at this point, but what does this look like for Florida? I mean, is there anything that's going to happen, or do you feel like this is a situation where do they part ways with Billy over this? I mean, what's going to happen?
Well, if the lawsuit gets some traction, yeah, I don't see how Florida doesn't. But what is the head coach and any Florida official doing talking about NIL money? That's the layer that I think is really going to burn Florida. First of all, this is going on across all of college athletics. This money isn't about name, image, and likeness. That's all that they're supposed to be getting paid for. This is straight out paid to play.
Right.
Again, the NCAA is sitting on its hands and not doing its job. It's worried about other stuff. And the coaches in the university aren't supposed to be part of this process. It's supposed to be outside collectives, which I don't agree with, but that's the way it's supposed to be. So there's a lot of trouble here for Florida if any of this sticks and if it has traction, because I think Florida could get absolutely hammered by the NCAA, or the NCAA will hammer like Florida Atlantic to get to Florida. That's usually what they do. They go find the little guy and pick on them.
Yeah. Well, and here's the one thing I'd say about that real quick, Coach. Florida, it was not named in the lawsuit themselves, and because the fact that all this has been set aside, part of what I read somewhere earlier today was the fact that Florida was not named in this lawsuit. But the reason for that isn't because there's not any wrongdoing by the university or employees of it. If you can prove that Napier is involved, or even not even Napier necessarily, but his staffer that was the NIL guy, then it's on Florida because that's their coach. Those are their employees. Okay. Now, the reason that Florida isn't named in it itself is because there's a law in the state that prevents or limits the amount of damages that you can get out of a state university in a lawsuit. So this idea that they didn't name this, that they hadn't named Florida itself as, a party to the lawsuit is not because of any other reason than they want their damn money and they can't get it if they go through that. Rusty Hardin, who's Jaden Rashada's attorney in this, pretty slick cat. He knows what he's doing. But, the idea that, that none of this, what bothers me about Florida is all this whole time before you had everybody saying that Napier wasn't involved whatsoever in any of this, because at that time you weren't allowed to have anything to do with the NIL if you're a coach. That has, of course, since been changed in the state, but that's all bullshit. That's what is clear to me. I don't know how much involvement he had in it, and I'm sure he didn't have any text messages or anything, but there's allegations that they do have recorded messages or recorded conversations that will implicate him in this. I think that they better get to a settlement with him pretty quick, because otherwise there's no way that Billy doesn't look bad in this, right?
No. What a mess. What a
mess.
Just when you thought college sports couldn't get any lower and dirtier, it finds a way, and I'm impressed.
Yeah. A shit show. And again, I keep coming back to, what the hell are we doing blaming these players for a system and rules that they didn't make? I don't get it. And they're chasing the bag. They're chasing the bag. Well, the bag is out there to be chased. What are we talking about?
We've put it out there to be chased. Exactly. And you know what? And here's one of the things that kind of pisses me off when I hear adults talking about, well, the kids are taking advantage, and, come on, guys. Hell, you want to tell me if you weren't offered another $1 million, $2 million, you're not going to jump on that too as an adult, a grown adult? So, let's not put that on kids that they're chasing the bag. I mean, and they are, but they're being given a reason to chase the bag. The bag's out there for them to chase. And until we have some rules then they're going to chase it, and you can't blame them.
No, I mean, yeah, chasing the bag is part of the game now. It's built in because of the court rulings that opened up the NIL, and I don't blame the player in any way for this, other than making sure everything's locked in, making sure it is run through an attorney, that it's ironclad. But again, we're dealing with high schoolers and their parents who are new to this process, most of them. And I would think they probably have a great deal of faith in a college football program to deal with them honestly. And you shouldn't have that faith. That's,
of course not. No, this is proof of that, right? That's proof of that.
Right. They absolutely do not have faith in anyone, even if it's a friend. Business gets ugly, and lies are told, and contracts are broken if they're not enforceable.
Yeah, and here's the Florida statement. We do not comment on ongoing litigation, and neither the University Athletic Association nor the university are named in the complaint. According to this is UAA spokesperson Steve McClain, the UAA will provide for Coach Napier's personal counsel, and we will direct all questions to those representatives. Obviously, Billy wasn't going to come out and make a statement about this immediately, of course not. His attorney's not going to allow that. But if you look at any pieces of this lawsuit, and there's, I mean, it just goes, basically, it's unprecedented action in terms of this. We've heard a lot of things that have gone on. As an Oklahoma guy, we all know what Lincoln Riley leaving in 2021 did as far as gutting the school. If you're a guy like JJ, he talks about how Jordan Addison, and I mean, you heard the coach from Pitt,
Narduzzi.
Yeah, Narduzzi flipped his shit over it, the way that they tampered with him to get him to go. But according to JJ, the offer was somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 million for him to go. They only ended up paying him $250,000, give or take or whatever. And of course, this is all coming from other places, but JJ's pretty plugged in at Pitt, and which is why he didn't play in the Cotton Bowl or any of that other stuff. There was all kinds of shit going on and then you've heard just as much of that kind of stuff that was going on at A&M, where they're promising them all this money. You've heard it from players on their way out the door that don't listen to all these promises because it's not true. All this money that's quote unquote promised, that's a problem. You can say it's about the kids and them being greedy, but who's really greedy?
Yeah.
And that's the point that I keep coming back to, is that the greed it's definitely spread around, but hell, the NCAA, these boosters and these schools have a 50 freaking year head start on the kids as far as revenue.
Yep. One of the things going on here with these NIL contracts is they say let's just put the number out there, $10 million.
Yeah.
But it's really not. First of all, agents in this space, unlike professional agents that get like 3 to 5%, are taking like 20%.
Insane, right?
So even the people representing them quite often are taking advantage of them. And their 20% is cash. They're not taking 20% of cash. They're taking 20% of the entire contract worth. Now, if you're getting a car, that's deducted. If you're getting anything else that is tangible items or services, that comes out of the $10 million. It's not on top. And that's what a lot of kids aren't understanding. So if your agent's taking 2, and at the end of the day, you're only getting $3 million in cash, you're going to get $1 million in cash.
Sure.
And that's where a lot of these kids
are going to have to learn at some point anyway, if you're a player, right? And I mean, this is because, but I mean, the exorbitant amounts of money that are going to these agents, and they're bloodsuckers. We've already known that.
Yep.
But I agree. That's the problem, is that, but the reason it's not just, I also feel like, look, we want rules in place but it's always being framed as so that we can protect these coaches who want to just know what their roster is going to be. Who the hell are we going to have to go into the season with. That's what our concern is. Or hey, you better not pay that kid if he jumped into the portal. What do does he get his money that he was supposed to get? Why the hell do we care about that? You know what I mean?
Well, I will say this. I stand. I guess I'm kind of straddling the fence a little bit here.
Me too.
But when you have a kid that comes in and he's given, I'm just going to use a figure. He's given $1 million, and doesn't even goes maybe through spring ball and then jumps out and heads someplace else. Never played it down. Never. I have a problem with that.
Sure.
But again, it's got to be, and everybody needs to be protected in this. And I know that institutions of higher learning have been sticking it to the college athlete when it came to the money aspect. I get that, but let's sit at the table and let's protect everybody. Let's protect the players and their families. Let's protect the institutions, and let's protect the coaches. And again, like Tim was saying, you got $3 million and you might get $1 million out of it. And so they need to learn those things. We need to also not only have parameters, but we need to have some education involved in this piece as well.
Agreed.
Me too. I think that's the main thing about the whole deal is that in the end, what we're seeing here, and I think this, what we just saw from Hank and I think somebody else was saying that up above was that, look, this could be, or let me just ask you, do you believe that this could be the kind of thing that pushes that lawsuit that's in the House versus NCAA, some of this other stuff to go to a full-on pay-for-play, revenue share model? At least that would put some kind of guard. I hate the word guardrails, but guardrails in place that would, rules and that would protect both sides. Because in the end, I think that as fans of our teams, you have every reason to want to see your team succeed in that recruiting. And I mean, recruiting is a big deal. Recruiting is a big deal these days. And you see how invested we all are. So yes, you want to see, when they've worked hard or they've given their money to, the Caden Green situation comes to mind for Oklahoma, but not just that, but, Caleb Williams and all these other guys that left with Lincoln Riley. It's happening everywhere. I'm not saying it's one school is getting it worse than the others or anything like that. But in the end, if you want any kind of law and order, I guess you could call it, you kind of need to put these things in place. Does this kind of thing move that forward to you, Tim?
It should. But the NCAA is a bit of a petulant child through all of this. They haven't gotten their way with the court system, so they just pouted and they let things run wild. And this is a result. This isn't about the failures of Florida or Miami or the NIL system or the kid. It's about the NCAA. They didn't offer any guidance to anyone about what they can and can't do. They let this run rampant. And now here we are with a big shit sandwich that they created and everyone else has to eat. So again, I at the end of the day, I'm growing hopeful that the NCAA is destroyed by this, and we have to start over. Yeah. And we start over in a more sensible way, and we put in severe penalties for doing things that aren't going to be allowed in a more simple rule book. I mean, they're talking about candy and photo ops, and you know what? Who cares, man? Kids are getting screwed out there, and the NIL is now just about paying players. And yes, it does layer into the House versus NCAA lawsuit, the settlement that's in the works right now. By the way, every time I try to talk about that on one of my videos, it doesn't perform well. It's a complex topic, but I'm telling you, folks, this is the most important thing that ever happened in college football.
200. We've been averaging 200 viewers on every live I've done in the last 3 weeks, going at one time, and we're at 18 right now. So it's not going out.
Yeah. I mean, people get glazed over by lawsuits, but House versus NCAA is going to change everything you know and love about college athletics. It's going to destroy some departments. It's going to destroy probably a lot of non-revenue / Olympic sports.
I agree.
And it doesn't really address NIL. It addresses not paying players, not compensating players, but it doesn't touch NIL at all. So that'll still be out there, along with the universities having to pay basically around $20 million a year in student athlete salaries.
Right. Well, and part of the reason I wanted you to come in is, look, Kansas State, although it's in a quote power conference right now, it's definitely not in a situation that a Florida is in or an Oklahoma's in or Texas or any of those schools, to where not in the SEC, not in the Big Ten, but not only that, but you don't have the Kansas State doesn't have the resources that those schools have. Not only that, and obviously the TV contracts and where we're headed with that is I don't see good coming of this, number one.
Well,
go ahead. No,
well,
go ahead.
I mean, the biggest problem with the settlement the NCAA is pushing is the step below any power schools, because the NCAA will owe X amount of dollars themselves, and they're going to subtract that from contracts, things that impact the non-power conference schools. So in terms of percentage of budget, they're going to get nailed harder than anyone. And that's what I don't understand about this settlement number. Shouldn't this involve the number of student athletes you have available scholarships for? Shouldn't this be about your budget? Shouldn't this be about how much you should have been paying X number of athletes per school, and not just some everyone kind of pays the same thing? None of that makes sense to me on the settlement. And it's kind of sad, because let's take Texas, for example. We can all trash on Texas in this room. Yeah. But they have a huge athletic budget. They have numerous sports, and that doesn't matter to the settlement. If you want to take this as defrauding student athletes out of the money, they defrauded more student athletes than a Kansas State, and certainly more than Texas San Antonio.
Sure.
But that's not part of the settlement. It makes no sense to me. None.
Yeah, and I tell you that I haven't understood the entire lawsuit itself. I almost intentionally stayed away from it, just for the fact that there's so many layers to it. As you said when we started this, there's layer upon layer upon layer to what we're seeing college football and college sports in general become. You start talking about Title IX and things like that. That kind of goes out the window with a lot of this shit. I guess that, that's going to be part of whatever this settlement is so that you can continue paying for that. But the truth of it is, I mean, there's still going to be this idea that changing these conferences and doing this and doing that has been beneficial for the sport is insane. It's not true. It's beneficial for your haves, your certain schools that are in the right conferences and stuff like that, and that hadn't made missteps like the Pac-12 and the ACC, apparently, because it's about to burn. But we're talking about now, you either have to agree to pay, let's say for Kansas State, that's what I was going to say. You look at a situation where $50 million that you get on a season, on a year-to-year basis, probably, and 25 of that is going to go to the athletes, which I don't really have a problem with. But but 25 goes to what athletes? To the football guys, or I mean, what are we talking about?
Yeah, and look, one of the things Kansas State does that I think more schools will start doing is offering a minimum number of sports. You have to offer 16 sports, and Kansas State does that. That's all. So why are they paying the same amount annually to student athletes as Stanford, that has 7,000 sports? I guess that'd be an advantage to Kansas State. Each student athlete would get more money that way. But I just don't understand how they're coming at these numbers at all. I don't get it, but it's progressing pretty quickly, and the NCAA wants this put to bed as soon as possible.
Yeah, because if they don't settle, then they're looking at probably double or triple that settlement whenever it comes down the pike. Welcome into the show from High Top Sports Recruiting, Cody Sprague, the professor. Welcome in, Cody. He is a Florida guy, so we're gonna get another side of this right now. I'm pretty sure, judging by your tweets today, Cody. Welcome in, though. You're muted, I believe. I don't got you.
This happens to all of us.
It does. It does.
God doesn't want him to tell us any lies about Florida.
No.
No, you might go out and come back in. I got nothing.
Good.
Oh,
Got you now. I just heard you.
All right, new system. So new computer. I'm run on a MacBook, so it's a little different. I made the change, so you got to get your settings right.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's up, brother?
What's up, Coach? How are you?
Good.
Oh boy, we're gonna have a whole host of people. So I'm Cody, the professor with High Top Sports Recruiting. Listen, I have two sides of this. I'm not totally one-sided with the Rashada deal. I thought it was a bad deal from the get-go. There's not 5 kids worth $13 million
no.
and from a high school program going to college. You know, but I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that you don't sue in civil court unless you're looking for one thing, and that's money. And I think that Jaden Rashada, unfortunately, showed that he is not a starter anywhere, let alone a Power 5 program.
Today,
I think his stock is falling. I think he's 6'2", 165 pounds. His release isn't great. Needs a lot of work. I don't know if he's even going to stay at.
Hold on, real quick. Let's talk about what's at hand here. He's at Georgia, so he's good enough to be at Georgia. So
as a backup,
to say that
as a third stringer, he's riding
Georgia.
the pine. Okay, there's been a lot of 5 stars to ride the pine.
None of that has to do anything with what we're talking about, though.
So let me ask this: if he's not worth a shit, why were millions out on the table? Not just once, not just once, twice. How many times? 3 times, exactly. Probably. 3 times the charm.
I think.
Real quick, let me welcome in our other guest here, USCJ, to the show. Welcome into the show, USCJ. How you doing, my man?
Jay, man, how you doing, man? Happy to be on. Finally caught up with you, man. How's everything going?
Good, man. Good to see you. Glad you. We're just obviously talking about this big deal. I saw that you had a show a little bit earlier today.
Yeah.
I didn't know while it was going on, so we'll get to that. But Cody, go ahead and answer that question. What? I mean, obviously there's money out there, so there was.
For sure, way over evaluated. If they would have just listened to me and you know, I didn't think he was all that great from the get go. If they would just watched my talent evaluation of him, they would have known that he wasn't worth $30 million. Now you got to understand that you got to a shameless plug, right? High Top Sports Recruiting evaluate him. You got to understand the time and landscape of when this happened, right? First year of NIL. Let's get it right. First year of pay to play legally, right?
It's not legal.
Let's not bat around. Let's call a spade a spade. It's a spade. He was the ace of spades, and the ace of spades is king in the card game spades. You had 3 high bidders with Miami after him. You had Florida after him, and then you had some other guys that were looking to sign him. I don't know if the 13 million is 100% true. I'm going to say this. I didn't like the deal from the get-go. I thought it was a bad deal, but this is why now? You go to a rival after 2 years. You were not very good as a starter at Arizona State. You had talent around you. We just go grab Elijah Badger, a truly talented wide receiver. You had talent around. I get he's a freshman. I don't like starting freshmen in any collegiate level. I got you. But his stock is dropping.
We're not talking about what he did as a freshman, as a performer, or any of that. We're talking about the fact that he was induced.
He's suing now. He is suing now because his stock is dropping bigger than Life Wallet.
But the bottom line,
it's worse than GameStop.
We're completely out of context. And you know what? I agree with you 99% of the time. But you're talking outside of the box of what this.
Then why do you sue on a civil suit?
What this whole contextual conversation is about is the fact that NIL is screwed up.
It's been
NIL needs to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed from all the different. There needs to be parameters for the colleges.
Does it have to be at
I'm not done.
Okay,
It needs to be fair to everybody involved: the institutions, the players,
the boosters,
everybody that's involved here. It needs to have parameters around it so that it can be fair to everybody. And we were talking earlier. Tim brought this up earlier. You know, hell, you have parents and kids going into making these deals that they don't know squad douche about how to make a deal.
He had an agent. He had a representative.
But he's not the only one.
This lawsuit apparently was started. They've been trying to file this.
But he's the only one to sue, and it's the University of Florida. How does that happen?
Well, so let me say something.
Please do.
If you got an agent that's representing you, I would think that the agent knows how to conduct business, right? I don't think the agent is going to go into anything and just up and sue somebody for $13 million. I remember hearing about $13 million last year before he even transferred to Arizona State. And by the way, he's 6'4", not 6'2". I had an opportunity to watch him while he was playing against USC, Arizona State. Yes, he's 6'4". And so, but the thing is this: if you sign a contract, if he signed a contract, Florida's not, we don't have to agree on the amount. I don't agree. 13 million is absolutely ridiculous. But if you sign a contract, it's Florida's problem that they shot themselves in the foot, and they're gonna have to live up to those obligations. And I don't think
whatever they offer you.
Yeah,
they let him out of his national letter of intent, which was the void of the contract. He made the $500,000 up front and then fleeced them for it. He fleeced them. Okay, wait till the taxes come out.
I don't know the
He's going to be the first one. He's going to be the first one to get caught up with tax evasion. Watch.
I don't know the specific. I don't know the specifics, but here's the thing. I don't think you know better than the agent that's representing him right now. I'm gonna say it like that. I mean, I think the agent.
Any of us do. I don't think any of us know what really happened.
Yeah, you're talking about professionals right now that really do this type of business on a regular. So you telling me you do this? You've already studied the law aspect of it, and you studied the ins and outs of it to where you're able to conclude and make a decision.
I'm saying it's 2 years later. He didn't sue Miami.
No,
he goes to a rival program, and Kirby Smart says, "Yeah, go ahead and sue the shit out of him." Yeah, go ahead, Jaden.
Hell, that's a great statement by Kirby, in my opinion.
Yeah. You go to a rival, and it's like, yeah, go ahead, sue the shit out of Florida. Why not?
Do it.
Let me clarify something here. If you're an NFL player, you have to hire an agent that's approved by the NFL Players Association. They've been vetted. There's nothing in college athletics that outlines who is an agent, who can be an agent. And we're seeing friends of the family members representing as agents, or just people that claim to be an agent who have no background in contractual law. So again, it's another layer of people taking advantage or misguiding players and their families. And so we don't know really what the agent knew. Yes, that's on them. But again, this is the system that the NCAA has let spin wildly out of control by just indifference and inaction because they're busy pouting about losing court cases.
Correct.
Well, can I say, let me say, these guys, I got a couple of buddies that my son's playing college ball, and I got a couple of buddies that their kids play at big time programs. These guys have, I'm not going to name the agents, but they have some of these guys have actual agents. Now, I will say this to your point. These guys, the parents are allowing this to take place, because once the agent gets in, and let me give you an example. We just had Michigan State, Derek Harmon. He just came to USC to visit, and USC coaches was able to move and groove with him, have mix and mingle with him as far as the recruiting aspect went. But after he left, it was like, okay, the communication was pretty much shut down because the agent was handling this. It was no more like the relationship aspect of it. I don't think people realize how jacked up NIL is right now. I mean, it is so messed up right now to where you can't even recruiting is not recruiting anymore. It's now negotiations that are taking place, opposed to guys who are developing relationships. And so they asked for these astronomical numbers that are crazy. And it's not just Jaden. Well, Jaden Rashada is one of the worst I've heard, but you got guys from I've heard allegedly that Derek Harmon went to Oregon for like 1.8 million. Now, is he worth 1.8 million? And he wasn't even the primary guy. I think they had another guy that just signed with Miami or somewhere, but 1.8 million,
running back.
really?
No,
he's another defensive lineman. Yeah. So it's so much to this, man. There's so much that's going on, man. And hopefully they put some regulations in place.
The regulations.
Amen, brother. Amen.
And I'm going to say this. This is what all of us talked about when NIL, all three of us, Coach and me and you, we talked about this. I said, what's going to happen when these kids get fleeced and they get taken advantage of by family and don't do their taxes right? I've said it over and over and over, and this is what it is.
Or even a coach or boosters or people that work for the coach. Hey, listen. The bottom line is there are text messages in this lawsuit. They posted them in the lawsuit, and that's not even necessarily all of them, that show that they induced him out of his deal at Miami. That's the bottom line with this. So the blame is all on Jaden Rashada. Okay. They were saying that about the money that they were going to pay. So to act like this is all on Jaden Rashada is what bothers me about the whole deal anyway. This is not about this whole problem. Yes, there's a problem. The schools get screwed, so do these players. And that's what pisses me off, is to hear people throwing a temper tantrum and saying, well, the kid's chasing the bag. Well, the fucking bag is out there to be chased.
It is.
And until they put regulation, until they put, and the NCAA they made it clear, it's a hold right now on any. It's like
a wild west.
It's the wild west right now. So
especially year one.
Hey, until they put regulations, this is the situation we're gonna be in.
Right.
So my thing is this: if somebody offered you $13 million, what would you do? Don't say you're not gonna take it.
I mean, I'd come on this thing butt ass naked for $13 million. I mean, let's get
exactly.
Let's go.
Well, hell, you know what? Hey, let me say this: since these kinds of deals are being made, go ahead and strip down. I'll pay you the $13 million. Okay.
I will cut my camera off.
Easy on that. There's gotta be a wire transfer. There's gotta be some, I gotta get a little hush money up front. You know what I mean? I'm gonna say this: the deal was a bad deal, and I banged on it from the very, very beginning. I hated the deal. I don't think that there's 10 players worth $13 million in college football right now. Truthfully, I just don't think that they're worth that kind of money, especially coming out of high school.
It's not about it's not about what we think they're worth.
I understand what you're saying.
Whether you're an evaluator of talent or not, it is not about what we think they're worth. It's
who's going to pay you.
It's exactly right. And Shawty, you know damn good and well that's not that. I am not ever coming from the side of, and I said it earlier today, don't come at me with the stuff from it's the players. I don't want to hear that. The players have been getting fleeced for decades.
And I don't even want to, you know what?
I don't know about that. SMU was playing some players.
Let me tell you something. I know about that personally, not from, look, trust me.
I'm not saying that nobody got paid. I'm saying that they didn't get paid like they were supposed to, and it's always getting put on players. They're the ones that are ineligible and everything else whenever the shit hits the fan, and it's always blamed on guys like Rhett Bomar or whoever you want to talk about. There's Reggie Bush. They took the
running back. Who's the running back out of SMU?
Do you remember Fred Taylor that played for Florida? Do you remember the story that came out from Saturday Night Down South? Fred Taylor said Georgia paid him $25,000. Do you remember that? And this was just a recruiting trip, but he ended up going to Florida. Do you remember that?
I don't. I don't remember that.
Okay.
That's a little before my time.
Okay. Well, see, but that's what I'm
But-
saying.
But
We're
Freddie
talking about
T,
a
you
big
know
time
who Freddie
referee.
T is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. A little
Yeah.
before my time though.
Go Google that. Look at Saturday Night. This stuff has been going on. Now it's just legal, but this stuff has been going on for years.
Well, Kirby got
Look
caught.
up.
Kirby got caught with McDonald's bags. Pruitt from Tennessee paying players left and right. That's been all over the place. It's not about paying players. I don't care about that. What I care about is I want everybody to get a fair shake at it. I understand that. What irritates me is this is 2 years later and you're in a civil suit naming coaches trying to get paid.
He's been
because
listening to his attorneys. He's been listening to his
and
attorneys.
I understand that. What happens if he goes to Arizona? What happens if he goes to Arizona State, balls out, and wins the national championship? Never happens. This never happens.
I don't know that you know that.
No,
In
it
fact,
doesn't
I don't
happen.
think you
It
know
never happens. Ever.
that. I don't believe that. I don't.
But he
believe
went to
that
a shit
1 second.
program, so now he's trying to make his bag back.
No,
He's not going to start for
I'm telling
UGA.
you, almost 2
He
years
ain't
ago.
starting for UGA.
Listen,
He's not going to start for.
Not today.
He
He's
wouldn't.
not.
He wouldn't start over Lagway either. Lagway is leaps and bounds a
Stop.
talent above
Cody,
him.
stop making it about whether he's gonna fucking play or not when you don't even know.
That's the biggest point. His stock is
It is
dropping
not.
like the Titanic.
It's not
No.
kind
There's
of
nothing to do with it.
That's why he's in a civil suit.
That doesn't have a
Stop it.
damn thing to do.
You only go to civil suits because you want money. He's looking for an
Where-
insurance
Brother.
claim or somebody to pay him
Brother.
in,
I
outside the
love you,
court.
man, but you are lost in
I'm
your
not
fandom
lost.
right here. You are
Yes.
lost in your
Yeah.
fandom.
Yeah.
You're lost in this conversation.
Hey, this story has been. I remember. I know you guys remember about a year and a half ago. I remember the $13 million figure. I mean, you guys. I remember that figure coming out.
Plain as day, I remember it. So it
I
was a
remember
bad
it.
deal.
So it's been a gap as far as the information that's came out. But this is not a new figure that they just came up with. I mean, I've always heard about that.
I guarantee Lagway ain't making no $13 million, and
Well, it's not about Lagway.
he's 10 times the recruit of
again,
what
just
Rashada is.
Listen, that is a statement by you. Obviously, DJ Lagway is hot to trot right now. None of that has anything to do with this.
But you're talking the first year of NIL. The very first year, Wild West.
No, it wasn't the
And
first
somebody
year.
was going
It
to
wasn't
get caught
the first
with the number. And we got caught with 13 million, and then he doesn't make anything because he decides to not take the deal or what have you, or they pull back. I don't know what happened. I'm not a Gator insider. I just evaluate the talent. I didn't think he's worth 13 million.
It's not even about that though. The
And
point is,
I
you
know
can think it's
that's
not- I understand that nobody thinks he's very good right now. He's good enough that Kirby gave him a scholarship to come there
well, he gave
out of the portal.
he's
He's
given plenty of
won.
guys scholarships. Like that's
Would
not
you
that big
bring
a
a guy
deal.
into your program that you don't think ever has a chance to freaking? If you're Kirby Smart and you can go get whoever the hell you want, do you just okay? Well, we're gonna get him and stash him away on the bench over
magically
here.
a rival that's going to sue the competitor. I
Of
mean,
course, look, man.
collusion,
bottom line
my
is-
goodness.
And I
None
can
of it has
promise
anything
you.
to do. None of it has anything to do with that, though. The point is, the guy. He went into
Kirby
the portal.
Smart.
Hey, I can promise you.
God. You're making it
Kirby
about
Smart.
Florida and whether or not he was going to play there or not. The fact is, Florida kept him from playing at Miami by offering him more money than Miami
That's
was
recruiting.
Hey,
You kept
and
guys.
Kirk-
You had the number
At the
one
time,
defensive
at the
line in
time,
the
that was
nation.
illegal recruiting.
You had
at
the
the
number
time, was
one
it not?
defensive line in the nation last year because you
Was
kept
that-
schools from getting them. That's
Professor.
recruiting.
Oh my, dude,
Professor.
you're not listening. That was illegal recruiting at the time, was it not?
Professor.
It was all legal. It was the first year
No, it wasn't.
NIL. It was a wild West.
At that time, it wasn't legal. It was
was.
not legal for a coach to have anything to do with it.
Allegedly,
Know that.
Billy Napier said, "I have a booster on the phone waiting for you."
Professor, from your statement earlier, Kirby Smart, we'll see how many people agree with this statement. Kirby Smart is shaking in his boots right now, scared of his competitor the Florida Gators.
No, but any edge is an edge.
Well, he doesn't need an edge
He's got
against
a
Florida.
gap like the freaking Grand Canyon right now, dude. Let's not
Any
be crazy.
edge is an edge. You don't think
He doesn't need an
do
edge.
you not think Urban Meyer would have done the same thing?
Of course.
He
I'm
would
not
have.
saying
He would have
anybody
taken
wouldn't. What I'm
he would have
telling
taken
you
a guy from
What I'm
the
telling you is I don't like the fact that we're going to sit here and villainize Jaden Rashada instead of the system that made this shit possible, Cody.
I get it. I don't
Yes.
like the system either. I was against it. I said NIL is a bad deal. You know what? You know what's a real shame? Let me tell you the real shame that nobody's talking about. Marvin Harrison Jr. getting sued by Fanatic off of a bad deal, $1 million deal for his jerseys. Ain't nobody talking about that.
That's
You
not
know
what we're
Marvin
here to talk
Harrison
about
Jr.
either.
I get it. You know Marvin Harrison Jr. sells more than $1 million worth of jerseys overnight after the draft. And they get a quarter. That's all they get, a quarter per jersey. So you think you're buying a nice jersey with supporting the NIL and supporting your favorite player, they get a quarter. 25 cents per jersey sold per Fanatic.
I don't give a
So
shit.
what's the difference? What's the difference?
I don't
You talk
care
about players
any of
getting
that.
abused.
At least that is actual NIL instead of just blatant.
A quarter per jersey is a NIL?
Sure.
If that's what's in the contract, hell yes.
If you sign a contract, you sign a contract. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, as a player, as an athlete, whatever, that you shouldn't have to. You're an adult. You signed a deal. You go by your deal. I don't.
And there are voids to contract. Contracts get voided all the time.
Well, both parties
Okay.
have to agree, or there has to be a reason to void it. But let me say this. I've learned a couple things here. First of all, we all agree the NIL system is a mess.
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 And second, I found out that the Florida football program are shitty talent evaluators if they're offering someone anywhere near this number who apparently can't play. I mean, if I'm a Florida fan, I'm pissed at the coaches. Why are you offering this money to a guy that wasn't that good?
I screamed it from the the belt buckles. I screamed it that he wasn't worth it. But they've gotten a lot of talent evaluation done right. I think they were just overzealous trying to get a kid over Miami, a rival trying to one up them. They had Ruiz going in and yanking players left and right away from him. I think they got a little head spun. The boosters did. And boosters run college football. Texas A&M has ran coaches out via the boosters. Auburn has ran coaches out via the boosters.
Of course.
So don't tell me the boosters don't run it.
Every coach that gets fired, Florida has ran coaches out via
because of the boosters.
No shit. The point
so
is,
don't tell me that the boosters didn't get a little overzealous and offer the kid, well, Miami's going to pay you 9, we'll pay you 13, just to stick it to them.
Well, then they
don't even have a home stadium. They don't need to be playing nobody.
It wasn't Miami that got screwed in that. It was Jaden Rashada, Cody.
Got screwed at what?
Out of $9.5 million, apparently.
You think Life Wallet is going to pay him $9.5 million? They got kids leaving left and right for bounce checks. That's where we're at. Miami paying players. They can't even pay for a stadium. They're playing in a soccer girls
thing, and
they're playing in a girls soccer stadium because they can't afford their own stadium. They couldn't even afford a 100-yard indoor field. They had to cut it short to 50.
What the fuck does it have to do with anything?
Cody, you've got to stay on task here. We're talking about the fact that he had a deal.
You thought Miami was going to pay him $9 million? You're high.
I don't care what your opinion is about Miami or what they have money-wise. They apparently had enough to get Simeon Barrow to not go to LSU and to go there to play defensive tackle. They have enough money to get Cam Ward to come play quarterback for them.
Cam Ward's a bum.
What?
Was he won?
Man, get out. Hey, stop. Hey, stop. Please stop.
Was he won?
Hey,
was he won?
Stop. You got to stop.
What is he won?
Was he won?
Man, you know how many yards did Cam Ward throw for last year?
I know he had a bunch of fumbles and INTs.
No. Don't.
How many wins did he have?
How many yards did Cam Ward throw for last year?
This is again the point.
Wait, hold on for a sec.
And you asked me this.
We'll see game one. We'll see who's the better program game one.
Hey, listen.
Game
You
one
can talk
we playing.
you can talk all you want, but if you don't have receipts, man, stop talking. Man, I don't look. One thing I don't have time for is no lost in the sauce comments. How many yards have Cam Ward threw for last year and compare him up with some of the best quarterbacks this year? Are you serious?
How many games
he was
he
the
win?
most sought after guy in the damn.
You just talking. You don't even know college
How
football.
many games he win? How many INTs did he have?
Are you? Huh?
How many fumbles did he have?
How many yards did Cam Ward throw for
How many
last year?
fumbles and INTs?
Cody,
I'm not even about to entertain you. I can't.
Hold on. And I just cut your mic, Cody.
Crazy.
So just understand this. The point that I'm trying to make to you is, don't tell me that they couldn't have paid him and he wasn't going to get something. He left there not getting jack because, and when they just look, you can say that they did that to stick it to Miami. Of course, and I don't even, you know what? Fine. I understand that's all well and good if it doesn't screw a kid out of a contract that he had. And that's exactly what it did. The point is, it's not about our freaking who we have allegiances to or whatever. And I know that you hate Miami and I understand it. I get your opinions about it. I have the same opinions about freaking Texas. I understand. The point is, none of that shit has anything to do with this. None of it. We're talking about a system that is screwing over players, and you're coming in here and attacking this kid when he has no fault here. That's the problem that I have. I'm going to let you back up, but you got to stop talking about fucking who's good and not.
He's represented by an agent.
Let me ask you, who's your favorite quarterback? Who's the best quarterback right now in the country right now, in your opinion, for college football?
Oh my God!
No, I'm asking him. I want to hear him.
The best quarterback, I think. I think it's the Georgia kid.
Who?
Carson Beck.
Beck.
Okay. Hold on.
No, you can go slice up my talent evaluation. Go watch the NFL draft, homie. Don't be coming out here saying I don't know how to fucking evaluate talent.
Yeah,
okay, that's all I do. You know what? USC.
I don't care about your evaluation. Your evaluation sucks. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Evaluated DC. Lincoln Riley couldn't evaluate a DC worth shit.
Hey, guess what?
Talk about talent evaluation.
Listen, we got a great DC. Hold on for 1 second. We just got a great DC. We just got a big time defensive line coach that came from the Rams.
We're way the fuck out of where we're supposed to be here. We're talking about
your talent.
If we can't get back to it, I'm getting the hell out of here.
Yeah, we're even going to talk about the actual issue, and he just left. So that's all right. I love Cody, but he is way too close to this situation to talk about it.
Man, that was absurd.
I love Cody to death. He's a good friend of mine, and he does a great job with his evaluation. He is so close to the situation here that it's too far. And I can't deal with it. And I'm not going to have it on the show anyways.
Was Cody a soccer goalie?
It's not even about that. Go ahead.
Was Cody a soccer goalie? Because that mother effer can deflect. You want to talk about something? I'm going to talk about this. It was amazing. I got to run. Jay, great to meet you.
Hey, good to meet you guys, man.
I hope our paths cross again. But the dogs need to be fed.
Okay.
And they'll turn on me because I would be delicious.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey,
good to meet you guys, man. Good to meet you guys.
Hey,
thanks, bud.
Tim, tell everybody real quick how to find you, and then thanks a lot for coming. Oh, he's split. Never mind. You can find him at GoPowerCat.com. He is the 247. He Go Power Cat, K-State 247 publisher. So Tim, thanks for coming on. Look, guys, I hated that it went to that because Cody's a friend of mine, man, and I understand that he loves his Gators, and I understand that they don't like it. I get it. You're getting attacked. Your school's getting attacked. It sucks. It's not. I'm just going to say this. It's not even just about Florida. There's a lot of people doing shady ass stuff all over the country, and I'm not. Every school.
That was the whole point to our conversation tonight is the NIL and what everybody's doing, and it needs parameters. But and as much as I love Cody, he was completely outside of that entire equation, only defending Florida, and it's not what this is about. And I love you, Cody, but at the end of the day, you were way off.
He's a good friend of ours. He's a good friend of ours. He's been on the show a bunch. I love him. I love High Top. They have a great channel. They do great work. Right here in this situation, they're way too close to the situation. I got attacked on Twitter today by a bunch of Florida fans. I don't care. You can be upset that we're talking about this. The truth is, it's not just Florida. It's not hell. Oklahoma is not freaking. They're not innocent in this going back years. Neither is any other school. If they have been good at football, you can bet they have cheated.
Hey, and that's kind of always been my deal, man, as it relates to college football, because you had so many people throughout the years, man. I mean, of course, you guys know it started with SMU, but the whole Reggie Bush thing. Reggie Bush, really, I had buddies that played. You know that, Jason, that come on my show. One of my best guys played on the national championship, played with Reggie Bush, and he would tell me stories about how Reggie didn't even know that his stepfather, this thing was even going, this other stuff was going on. So it's like, but it's stuff that goes on throughout college football. I could talk about so many stories. My son has a good friend. His friend played at Alabama. I'm not even going to tell you what he was driving around. This was years ago, so,
sure.
It is what it is. Now it's just open, it's legal, but they just need to put some regulations in place.
Yeah, and the regulations are for the protection of players and the school. That's the point. I don't want to just make. I love Oklahoma just like everybody loves their school. We all are emotionally invested in the programs that we cover here. Jay, you are emotionally invested in USC. I'm emotionally invested in Oklahoma. Coach is emotionally invested in Notre Dame. We spend our hard-earned money to go watch these guys. We spend our time covering what they're doing. It all matters to us. We get it. The point is, go ahead, Coach.
No. I'm just going to tell you. I just want y'all to know that at Notre Dame, when we cheat, we have them go to confession and we bless them. They say 10 Our Fathers, 10 Hail Marys, and we're good.
Yeah, right.
We all are. Look, man. And everybody knows that Oklahoma has went through periods where probation and everything else where it was, hey, man, it is what it is.
We just got to get it under control, guys. That's the bottom line here.
It's for the benefit of the sport, I think, right now.
Everybody. The sport, exactly.
The sport is in danger of alienating the fans. When you do that to the point that they stop watching the shit, it all goes away.
It's not even fun anymore. As far as when you're talking about the recruiting aspect and the developing relationships, as I stated, guys are not even learning how to be developed. They're getting there 1 year, and now it's like in a couple of months. We had a guy that came from Texas A&M, Isaiah Rakes. He came to USC in January, and then he hits the transfer portal in the middle of spring. He goes to Auburn. Like who is advising you? Like, what are your parents telling you as it relates to? Because if you want to ultimately make it to the NFL, they're going to look at your character aspect, and character. It says a lot when you hopping in and out and in, and you're not able to, be there and develop in relationships. Like, these guys are not even having friendships anymore with players. They're just bouncing out of there after their freshman year. When I was in college, man, look, I love lifting weights with the dudes, playing ball with them, developing these relationships. Like, what kind of people are you now? So this whole thing is crazy, man. It is.
Yeah, it's out of control.
And again, what I was trying to explain to him is I am not for villainizing the players for a system that they did not create.
Right.
That's my problem, is that they did not create this system. They did not create the NIL. When all this shit came down, and this is what happened. They were in the Supreme Court over something entirely different, and Judge Kavanaugh came down on them and said, look, you better fix this because your labor practices are so far beyond against the law. And so what did they do? You remember the whole deal with, what do they do? They throw NIL out there like it's going to be a catch-all, when that's never been what NIL was supposed to be. It's supposed to be about endorsements. Instead of putting any kind of parameters in place, the NCAA itself has set this thing up to be a failure. And of course it gets pushed on the players. And that's the problem that I have with it. Look, I am not saying that anybody is any more guilty than anybody else. That's not where we are. I'm not even saying it. Florida's in the middle of it right now because it's in the news right now. The lawsuit is from Rashada against Napier. It is what it is. The point is, it doesn't have anything to do with, I don't want to hear that he ain't that good, because that doesn't have.
No, it doesn't. It's promises that are being made. And I don't think, me be doing my podcast now, I get an opportunity to hear so many backstories that I can never talk about. And there are so many promises as it relates to NIL, and it's crazy. I'm gonna leave it right there, but it's crazy. They're making promises that they can't keep, and that's what this is really all about.
And don't want to keep.
Right.
Oh man. Real quick, Neilio, thank you for the super chat. And Sooner Legend Podcast, thank you for upping your membership again as well. Good Tuesday evening, everybody. Good evening, Mr. Jason and Coach. Neilio, I think you may have missed the explosion there. We actually had we had Cody the Professor on, along with Go Power Cat, Tim Fitzgerald. It got a little crazy because of, look, and I get it. It's emotionally invested. I understand that. And yes, guys, I hope that we didn't blow up a friendship with him too. But the bottom line is I can't help that he threw a temper tantrum like that. It was crazy. In the end, look, I understand why they're upset at Florida. They're getting attacked at a time that they haven't been very good. They're a proud program. They're a proud, people that have went to that school and been around it. They care about it as much as we do. In the end, the truth is, going back to what this really is, I think that it was wrong for however much, I don't know how much Billy Napier had involved in it. I know that they insulated him, and you better have insulated him somehow. But the fact that his NIL collective guy, he was with the school, he was a employee of the school, worked for Billy. That means that, and now he's with the Raiders. So they basically sacrificial lambed him. But bottom line is that attaches it to Billy no matter what. There are text messages there of that guy promising that he was going to get paid. They've got, and that I don't even know that they put it all in the filing, because there will be discovery and more stuff will come out and all that. There's also been talk about that there was recorded conversations. There's all kinds of stuff. Right? There's all kinds of stuff. So the bottom line is there's clearly something that was going on. And in the end, to me, we know that he had a deal. How big it was, Ruiz said it wasn't $9.5 million. I don't care. Whatever it was, they had to have offered more, or he was going to stay with Miami. Am I wrong? I get it. That's recruiting. That's recruiting. But that was illegal recruiting at the time. There was things that were going on that wasn't on the up and up. And because of it, the kid ended up at Arizona State not getting anything when he could have made a lot more. That's just kind of where I'm at with it. This has got to stop. It's not fair when the school has forked out money or whatever you want to call it that either. I don't like that part either. Nobody does. But the truth of it is it happening everywhere. It's happening everywhere. Every school that, hey, Jay, USC lost a number of guys to the portal this spring. Oklahoma lost guys to the portal this spring. It's going around. This happens. It sucks when you lose a guy like Caden Green on your offensive line when you need offensive linemen. It is what it is. These things happen. In the end, we have to realize that the only way that it gets better for the schools is for it to get better for the players too. You've got to put the stuff into place to allow it to be equitable for everybody. And until you do that, then this is the world we live in. Get ready. But I believe that this could be the thing that screws up college sports, or it could be the thing that stops this all happening and gets it back on the right track. Because I think that's what everybody wants. We all love our schools and we want to watch college football. We want our teams to go out there and compete. Nobody wants to talk about this stuff, man. Nobody wants to talk about this stuff.
No, I totally agree with you. And you know, certain teams are able to succeed a little bit better because of the resources. You know, we don't have to name any names, but you know, it just has to be, the transfer portal and NIL, it's hard to separate the two because they really go together. Because what's happening is, I don't know if you guys saw that article that just came out. It came from Athlon Sports about how NIL really is. And they talked about all of the messaging, and the players are actually being contacted. They even talked about the structure was in place to the point to where they have a group and a crew. These were anonymous coaches that actually went up there and made these confessions, but they actually have a department at the athletic department, different schools, to where they watch film on each guy during the season, and as a result, they start realizing the guys that they want. Now they contacted these guys, messaging in these guys, and it starts at the beginning of, during the season. So these guys are being courted, and that part of it is absolutely insane. And I don't think a lot of people really even realize that. And you guys know Nick Saban actually slipped up doing a draft coverage, and he said this. He said, we were actually going after a cornerback from Toledo. He really confirmed what Athlon Sports was actually saying. He said, we're going after a paid player who wasn't in the portal, and he would never come out the portal. I said, are you serious? He really just confessed to that. So this is the type of stuff that we're dealing with. So if they could put transfers, some type of regulations on transfers, as well as, some of the other stuff, I think we'd be in some good shape.
Exactly.
I agree. And I tell you, I mean, you look at it, Shotty talks about this all the time. These conversations, what do they call them? Exit interviews. They happen at the end of every season. It's not just the kids jumping in the portal either. Sometimes it's coaches pushing them into the portal, telling them that they're not, you can stay and we'll honor your scholarship. You can finish school, but you're not going to play.
Well, even in the recruiting process, guys, that even happens in the recruiting process. You may offer a kid, but as you get some better recruits, you go back and say, look, we've upped the ante on our recruiting. We got some kids that are going to be better with you. Just want to make sure you want to stay here, or you want to open up your recruiting again. So it goes back even into the recruiting process. Not only the exit interviews. So it's, and that's, I think that we said this earlier, but guys, there's a lot of things that happen in a college football program that a lot of people don't, if you're not involved and know what happens in those places, there's a lot that goes on that we don't ever know about. We don't know a darn thing about it.
Most of it doesn't leak out.
And you can't, you don't get the big picture of what actually happens from start to finish with a recruit / player. It's amazing. And so it's hard, I think, sometimes for people to understand the entire mechanics of how all this works, and they'll say things that are not very, or they don't sound very intelligent because they don't understand. Again, dadgummit, I'm still, my heart hurts a little bit over Cody leaving tonight, and but he was way off base tonight, and I love him, but
yeah, man. I mean, look, it's an emotional deal all the way around. We all get emotional about it. Hell, we have these conversations a lot, and it's okay to have the conversation, and I understand it. But we got to stick to the actual subject, and that's not what was going on there. I'll have a conversation with Cody whenever I get out of here, but he's got to know. You got to let's talk about what's going on, not about what you think about Jaden Rashada, which is
here's the thing about that, Jason. And I can't. I mean, I don't. He was so blinded by the fact that Jason Rashada that he's not a good player, and well, if he's not a good player, why the hell did y'all give him all that money? I mean, what does that say about your coaches?
That's what he needs to be talking about. He needs to be talking about that. That's the real issue.
What does that say? Yeah, I mean, oh my God, why don't I mean, hell, if I was him, I'd be saying, oh hell, he's going to start at Georgia instead of tearing him down, because ultimately he's talking about Florida football sucking at bringing in a kid that they didn't think could play, but give him $13 million.
Yeah.
Just to keep him away from Miami? You kidding me?
It all boils down to what James is saying right here. And if this is an unpopular opinion, who cares? I don't care about that. The sooner you go to a semi-pro system, which is basically rev share, is what you're talking about, sooner we can have meaningful rules for everyone. Again, the rules are not just one-sided. That's the whole problem, is that they've always been one-sided. Of course, and I've been saying this for the last couple months, Coach, and you can attest to this. I feel like when they get the revenue share in place and it's out in the open, you can stop doing these under the table backroom deals to where anybody's at fault. You don't have to cheat anymore. That you can do the highest bidder thing if that's what you want to do.
Sure.
Because it's the marketplace. The marketplace says this is what you're worth, so be it.
But even to that piece, I think, and again, this is getting down in the weeds a little bit, but even to that piece, talking about going to the highest bidder, maybe there needs to be some caps here, guys.
That's
maybe there.
On the red share part, there will be. There will be.
Yeah, there's got to be some caps, because
that's supposed to be NIL though. Was never supposed to be this. NIL is what you can make as an influencer, or whatever you can Look, I don't know what Caleb Williams made. I've heard 10 million from endorsement deals. National endorsements. That makes a lot of sense.
But it's because it's his name warrants that, and that's where I think a lot of people get it. Now the revenue share, that's what the university's making. That's exactly a whole separate deal. The revenue share, I think. Of course, because football is one of the biggest sports. They make so much, millions and millions of dollars. Yes. Do I think that some of revenue sharing needs to be there? Yes. It'll keep even playing field for those who are less in the aspect of the name wise. Now, when you got somebody like Caleb Williams or Derrick Henry or whatever, of course they're gonna get more money. Their name is going to carry more weight than other guys. However, when you have the revenue aspect of it, it'll kind of pick up the slack where some of the areas where it lacks at, because everybody's not a Caleb Williams or a Derrick Henry. You get what I'm saying? So, yes, it's two different things, and I hope that they pass that. I guess they're going up before Congress. I saw it this week or a couple of days ago.
I think it's pretty close to – I think that was already happening. That was one of the things. I feel like this is the thing that's going to push you towards that settlement, because, first off, the NCAA and these schools don't want this to go to court in January. If they don't get it settled, it will be in court, and then the money's going to be real. It's real anyway. $2.7 billion is what they're talking. I keep hearing numbers in that range, that $2 to $3 billion, but the damages could be upwards of $10 billion if they go to court. So they don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But then something like this, where you start seeing that, hey, look, this stuff. To me, it shows you that, first off, you definitely need a third party, because nobody's going to do it the right way if you don't force them to do so. So you got to put somebody in place that can, keep an eye on things and keep it on the up and up. Are you ever going to get rid of cheating? Probably not. It's a culture of it. It's been going on for decades and decades. There's always going to be somebody that's going to cut corners at these bigger schools and these boosters that have big pocketbooks and just want an addy. They're going to do things like that. The schools that are going to do it in a way that it doesn't mess with their culture are the ones that are going to win. And that's where I feel like when it comes to Oklahoma and them doing the soul mission and you're trying to build relationships, not just get into cash talk, that's where it is. Sometimes you're going to, but if you think that you're not going to pay, you're out of your mind. They are going to pay. Everybody's going to pay. In the end, there's got to be more to it. And I think that's where, if you can make it into some kind of fair, yeah, you're right. I think you're right. It's the cap or whatever is going to be so that everybody gets a little bit of cash. When it comes to the best players, you're always going to have this. It's going to be about the market and what they can get. And how can you blame them? How can you blame the players? I don't. Because again, they generate billions every year.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and bottom line, but again, bottom line to this whole conversation is there's got to be some rules in place to minimize the cheating that's going on, and every side, whether it is a player that is trying to screw over a college or vice versa, which is usually the case. It's usually the college screwing over the players or the university screwing over the players. But again, we can take names out of this. You can take people out of this and just simply talk about NIL, what rules need to be put in place so that this works for everybody. That's the bottom line. And we can talk about Florida. It could be Timbuktu. It doesn't matter. It just happened to be Florida in this case. Hell, it could have been Notre Dame. I'm just saying that is all irrelevant right now. The only relevant thing in this whole conversation should have been is that we need to fix it, and it needs to be fixed now. And with that being said, the NCAA doesn't have the balls to fix it. They
haven't had an incentive.
They can't fix it. They can't fix it. That's right.
They haven't had
no
incentive to fix it until now.
And hopefully we see the NCAA bumped out during this whole process, and we don't have to deal with the NCAA anymore. And we can create a governing body within college football that's going to take care of way more things than the NCAA takes care of.
I think that, I don't know if you guys are familiar or if you guys heard that the SEC and the Big Ten has some meetings, especially when it was surrounded around Tennessee. They were essentially alluding to the fact that they were coming up with their own little body just in case, just in the event that something were to take place. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And they've also had other people that have tried to come together to do a quote super league or whatever you want to call it, and that they've said no to. But apparently the Big 12 signed off on their part of agreeing to this settlement earlier today. Go ahead.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, yeah, you got it. And so I think that they're because let's be real, the SEC and the Big Ten, they Notre Dame, you guys better come on, man. I know you guys going to come on and eventually and be some way. Huh? Well, that's I'm gonna leave that for a whole nother discussion. I'm gonna leave that for.
If you're going to the conference thing, you're barking up the wrong tree with Coach, because that shit ain't going.
Well. Here's the thing. The ACC is going. I mean, I saw something today. I can't even remember what it was, but it looks like they got some stuff going on as far as getting lawsuits. Was it Florida State? One of them. The ACC, I can see them being absolutely just out of here in the next few years. It's going to be the SEC and the Big Ten. The Big 12 is not on the same level playing field. To me, I'm just saying hypothetically, it makes more sense for a team like but I'm not going to get Notre Dame to be in the Big Ten. It's just a natural fit. It makes sense, but we'll leave that alone. I won't touch that. But,
And I'll say this. The only way we're going to go to a conference is if we don't have a shot at a national title.
Well,
Other than that,
that's a great point. It's a great point because
keep them out because of the ratings that they get with them in. If they can put them in the playoff, they want them in the playoff. I mean, you know, whether they're part of a conference or not, if they force them to do that, that's fine. But again, Notre Dame's making.
That's when we're going.
Well, think about it like this: the new 12-team playoff format, it's going to be 4 teams from the Big Ten and 4 teams from the SEC. Even if Notre Dame goes undefeated, did you guys see the new format that Notre Dame will still be the 5th? I mean, come on. They already kind of trying to push them to that. To me, that's what it looks like.
I don't struggle with that. Yeah. I don't struggle with that because when the conferences are playing their conference championships, we're off. We're off. And so our conference championship is going to be that first playoff game. So that doesn't really bother me, I'm telling you.
But the reality as far as this part, you got to, you know, the 5th seed is going to play. So the 12-team playoffs, I'm trying to see how many. The likelihood of playing those games back to back to back like that in the playoffs, I just think that's a rougher road. If you're a team like Notre Dame, what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I think that's the case. I've been saying that too, but where coach is coming from is that because they're not playing a conference championship game, they're also going to get in there, so they wouldn't play as many games as say a conference champion would.
Yeah.
But you're seeded to where you're going to play tougher games right out of the gate too.
Yeah.
So that they could end up. I think if that's going to be what pushes them, it'll be because they're seeing that competitive wise, it's harder to have to play more games. When
that's
if you're in the
Big
Ten, you're in the Big Ten, that you're going to be able to say, okay, if we go through and we have one loss or go undefeated,
even two losses, we
have a better shot at getting a bye or whatever, into if that's, you know, what it comes to. I think a lot of that is going to come down the pike later. In the end, I think that there's so much money out there that and it's going to continue to grow, but they have to put this in place. And again, High Top, I'm not going to say anything about Florida here. I'm trying to tell you, we've been trying to tell our guy here, these guys are all of it is, it's not just a Florida thing. We're not just saying it was Florida. What we're seeing, we're reporting on what we're seeing in all these reports from Dennis Dodd and On3, coming from NACOS and a guy that's a Florida guy, from On3 as well. So these things that are out there and the things that are, that's obvious, it's not just that it's going on at Florida, but something was going on. He had some kind of deal at Miami and got induced to come out of it. So there had to have been more. What Cody was freaking out on is silly talk, man. Silly talk. He's talking about whether he's good or not instead. And I love Cody to death, but he's talking about what he thinks about Jaden Rashada instead of what happened in that whole recruitment. Something was not on the up and up. And I'm not just going to sit here and blame players or their family members for that matter for a system that they are not responsible for putting in place. Period.
I totally agree with you, man. I just want to jump in with you guys. You guys know Jay, I just had an interview, but I got to do some editing stuff real quick so I can come post it up in the morning. But look, man, it's been a pleasure to come in with you guys, man. Coach, it's good to meet you. I know you're Notre Dame guy, man, but it's always love to be able to essentially fellowship with everybody, man. So I'm out of here, Jay. And
thanks for coming in, man. I appreciate you.
Anytime, man. You guys stay blessed.
Have a good night.
Have a good one.
All right, man.
God bless you, Jay.
Thank you, bro. Cody, now you're in here talking shit to him. Stop. We're not talking about evaluating talent. You're in here taking shots at people, and you were in here taking shots at him and screaming on the show. Would you get away with that on Shelton's show, on your guys' show? No. Don't do that shit on mine either. All right. That's it, man. Coach, let's get out of here. Guys, we appreciate everybody for coming in. Appreciate everybody for coming in, but I'm not going to continue this conversation. The bottom line is simple. This is the only place we're at. We're not throwing stones at Florida Florida's in the middle of this because of a lawsuit that is in the news. You guys can be pissed off at the messengers all you want to. None of it, where this should do is push us towards a situation where everybody is protected. It's not about talent, your talent evaluation, or what you think about Jaden Rashada and what he did. It's not about that. It's not about that. You made it about talent in your talent evaluation, and it had shit to do with it. You took the conversation completely off track, bro. Completely off track. And it's not right for you to have done that. You wouldn't do that shit on your own show. Don't do that again. You're my boy. I love you to death, man. I don't appreciate that. And I don't appreciate you attacking guys on the show like that. It's not a cool thing to do. You want to debate about something? Fine. We do it all the time. It even gets a little heated sometimes. Hell, I'm kind of heated right now.
Well, and I'll say
you know damn good and well I'm not a USC fan, and neither is Coach.
No.
Shit.
No. And again, I stated this earlier, Jason, and I know everybody heard me, but again, you could change the narrative of Florida and put any college in there. That was the whole point. That was the whole point of this conversation tonight.
Absolutely.
And we just turned it into, and Cody, I'm sorry, my friend, but you turned it into a whole different context, and it was all about Florida, and it was all about this player, and that's not what we were trying to get to. What we were trying to get to was the NIL, the rules that need to go into place, and all the things that are going on with this piece. And we went completely off the railroad tracks.
We did. And I'm not going to have it. I'm not going to have these arguments like this about stuff that, I mean, come on, guys. The bottom line is, I don't care what we think he's worth. The bottom line is that what he was worth, what they freaking offered him, whatever that number was, and whether it was 13.8 or 9.5, or whether it was way less than that, or way, I don't care what it was. It doesn't even matter. The point is the money. There was money offered, there was and agreed to, and apparently, according to the lawsuit, and I'm not saying allegedly, the booster even sent $150,000 so that he could get out of that deal with Miami. So there's something going on there, and there are text messages that we saw from the NIL guy at Florida, which means that was connected to the school in that way. Look, I'm not saying it's an all Florida problem, but there was some stuff that was going on that wasn't on the up and up. Period. That's all there is to it. And I'm not saying this is the only place it goes on, because it goes on everywhere. And this was the first lawsuit. I don't think that it was probably the last one. That was the other thing I wanted to talk about, is this is one of those things that it's a kind of a landmark situation, Coach, because it could spur a
yes.
shit. They better get some rules in place before this blows.
That's the whole point.
Up.
That's the whole point. This is it is going to be landmark situation. I mean, it's already there.
Yep. All right, man. Yep. I've had enough of this conversation.
Hey, life is good, man. It's all good. It's college football. And you know what? We're all passionate about college football. And you know what? Our passion comes out. And that's what it's all about. That's why we come in here and talk about this stuff. We get to read other people's opinions and listen to other people's opinions. And
sure.
So again, guys, great job.
That's what we wanted. But just not, I mean, it got off the rails, and I don't like it when the show gets off the rails like that. I mean, I don't care for it. Yes, tomorrow, Neilio, in the morning, I'll be back here in the morning. We have Jake Crane coming on from Crane and Company. We're going to talk a little bit about Lady Ballers. Obviously, this conversation will come up again tomorrow, but cooler heads will have prevailed overnight at least. But tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time. I'll be going. I think Jake's going to come on at about an hour after that. So yeah, join me in here tomorrow. I'll have some other topics to talk about as well. But like, hey, listen, again, I'm not throwing stones in the direction of Florida, and I'm certainly wasn't trying to throw stones in the direction of my friends at High Top Sports. None of you guys. That's just bottom line. So yeah, join us tomorrow. We appreciate it. Please, if you enjoyed the content, hit the like button. It's a free way to support the program. We appreciate it. Get into our Mel Rig Performance Golf apparel for your unbelievable gear at great prices. And then again, guys, you don't have to pay crazy money for your wireless bill. Check out our Mint Mobile partner site, trymintmobile.com/HOF, and get your first 3 months of unlimited talk, text, and data for just $45. It helps the program. I promise you the service is on par with the big wireless. It's going to save me $1,600 this year. Go check it out.
Go.
Thank me later. We appreciate everybody coming in. Coach, love you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, I hope people wipe their feet because they had to walk through a lot of shit to get in.
Facts.
Oh, love you, brother.
All love to everybody in the comment section. All love to Cody and Shelton and High Top
guys.
Sports.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys on the next one.
Love you guys.